Welcome back to Artie's Ghost House. I'm Artie, your ghostwriter, and tonight, you're listening to Chapter 3, split shifts from my supernatural thriller, The Shadowy Figures of the Aztec Theater. This chapter is about pressure, the kind that builds when you're stuck between love and fear. Luis is doing everything he can to keep up with Eva's expectations for their life together. He's proud, independent, and determined to pay his own way. So when he lands the late-night janitor job at the old Aztec Theater, he thinks it's just the answer he needs. But that place has secrets, and in the quiet hours after midnight things start happening. Whispers, footsteps, lights where there shouldn't be lights. He wants to believe it's all in his head. Eva wants to believe he's just tired. But what happens when your world starts falling apart, and the person you love refuses to believe what you're going through? Tonight, we step deeper into the haunted shadows of the Aztec Theater, and into Luis's unraveling reality. If you've ever been gaslit by fear or doubted by someone you trusted, this one's going to hit home. Before we begin, like this video if it gives you chills, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your ghost-loving friends so they can follow the story too. And don't forget to turn on notifications, you won't want to miss what's coming. Now, dim the lights, settle in, and keep an ear out. The Aztec Theater doesn't sleep, and neither should you. Let's begin Chapter 3, Split Shifts. Chapter 3, Split Shifts. The smell of buttered toast clashed with the sharp scent of cheap white wine. Luis stepped barefoot into the narrow galley kitchen of their apartment, rubbing sleep from his eyes. His black hair stuck out at odd angles. The blinds were half closed, letting in slanted stripes of sunlight that painted harsh lines across the Formica tabletop and the outdated linoleum floor. Dust hung in the air like suspended time, catching the gold afternoon light. At the stove stood Eva, glass of wine in one hand, a scratched metal spatula in the other, stirring scrambled eggs with tight, punishing motions. She wore scrubs from the hospital, wrinkled from the waist up, and her auburn hair was still pinned in a loose knot. The edges of her expression were sharp, though exhaustion dulled her movements. She had slipped off her shoes to give her feet a rest, and they stood next to her as if puppies, looking up begging to be fed. Since Luis had started working at the old theater, he'd stopped cooking for them. A small thing, but one that mattered. He used to make elaborate meals for dinner and make tamales from scratch for her when she came off a double. He felt guilty about it, especially tonight, but wouldn't have time until Monday, if then. "Breakfast for dinner again?" he asked, trying to sound amused. She didn't look at him. "It's what I had time for." Luis crossed to the counter, grabbed a mug, and poured lukewarm coffee from the pot. It had been sitting there since yesterday, this morning. The hours had blurred since he'd taken the job. He sipped and winced. It was bitter and metallic. No sugar, no cream, just something to fill his hands. "I know," he said softly. "The schedule is messed up, but it pays better than anything else I can get while still taking a full course load." Eva finally turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "Well, good morning to you at 5 in the afternoon." She raised her brow. Her eyes were red either from wine, the stove smoke, or something else. "I don't know what time you live in anymore," she added. "I work nights, go to school in the morning, try to sleep in the afternoon. I only got 4 hours today." She crossed her arms, spatula still dangling. "That's not romantic, Luis. It's depressing." Luis looked down at his coffee. "I didn't think it'd be forever, just for a few weeks. Pay off tuition, take care of the rent. I don't like you having to carry me. But here we are." Her voice cracked slightly, then recovered. "Weeks later, you sleep when I'm awake, cook alone. I eat alone." He looked at her now, really looked, past the wine and the bitterness, past the weariness in her shoulders. There was something underneath, a dull ache that had been swelling quietly for days. "I'm sorry," he said. "If I can find something else, I'll quit. I mean it." Eva shook her head, lips pressing together. "It's not about quitting, Luis. I know you're trying. I know money's tight. But you've turned into a ghost that shows up just long enough to crash into bed and disappear again." He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. "You know what I did last Friday?" she said. I got the grant. For my study. The one I've been working on since residency. His eyes widened. Eva, that's incredible. Why didn't you tell me? I did, she said quietly. You were half asleep. You mumbled something and rolled over. Luis closed his eyes. Shit, I'm sorry, she continued, her voice low and controlled. They took the whole department out to dinner. A celebration. A bliss. Everyone brought their spouses or their partners. People clinked glasses and kissed and laughed and had someone to lean on while they toasted. You know who I brought? He didn't answer. Myself, she said. I sat at the end of the table with a waiter who kept asking if someone else was joining me. And I just smiled and said, no, it's just me. Luis's throat felt tight. I didn't know, he said. I would have gone if I could. If I knew. But you didn't. Her voice cracked now. You were at the theater. He nodded. I don't know what to say. That's what you keep saying, Luis. You don't know. One night. 1 week. One more shift. I rearranged my hospital schedule twice last month so you could sleep during the day. I gave up weekends at the lake. I do everything so this stupid job doesn't kill you. I know, he said, finally stepping toward her. I know you've been giving more than your half. And I hate it. I hate how it's hurting you. Hurting us. She turned her back to him, head bowed over the pan. The eggs had gone rubbery now, bits sticking to the bottom. The smell of burned butter curled into the air. He hesitated. There's another reason, he said, almost a whisper. She didn't look at him, but she didn't tell him to stop either. There's stuff going on there, at the theater. Eva let out a soft, tired snort. I'm serious. Things I can't explain. Lights that flicker where there's no power. Blue glows floating through the main auditorium. Voices in the dressing rooms. I saw the men's restroom mirror fog up on a floor where I was the only one working. She turned slowly, eyes narrowing. Luis, you're a grown man. Catholic, for God's sake. You really believe that? I believe in what I've seen, he said. And what I've seen, it's not normal. It's like something wants attention. Like the place knows when you're looking at it. She stared at him, long and hard. Then, slowly, she drained the last of her wine and placed the glass too hard on the counter. That's your explanation? She asked. You're sleep-deprived, never home, missing everything important. And it's because a ghost might be floating by the popcorn machine? I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you what's real. Real, she echoed. Okay, real. She turned back to the stove and started dividing the eggs between 2 chipped plates. I'm going out tonight, she said casually, as if they were roommates, not partners. To Sarah's. Your sister's birthday? She nodded. I need to be with someone who's present. Luis didn't answer right away. He leaned on the counter, heart thudding in his chest. He wanted to say, I'll quit. I'll sleep less. I'll come tonight. But all he managed was, you're right. I've let the job take over. I've been surviving instead of living. And I let you live in the empty spaces I left behind. Eva turned slowly. The plates were in her hands. She set one down on the table in front of him. I didn't want you to apologize, she said. I just wanted you to show up.
Luis nodded.
He pulled out the chair and sat down, staring at the eggs, untouched. She sat across from him and poured water into her wine glass. I'll show up, he said quietly. Starting now. Thanks for listening to Chapter 3 of the Shadowy Figures of the Aztec Theater. Luis is trying to hold it together, but the theater has other plans. Things are only getting stranger from here, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're loving the story so far. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Chapter 4 is just around the corner. Thanks for your support, it means everything. Until next time, watch the shadows. They might be watching you.